So I worked in finance and I was in financial sales. And my job was to explain to people who had never heard of a finance product why they needed it. And I thought that that was $100 grand a year skill because that's what I earned from doing that. Even though I was probably generating revenues of millions for the business. Yeah. It was only once I took that skill set and put it on camera that I was like, okay, this is actually worth a lot more. This just the idea of going, this is the finance product and this is probably why you should use it.
Right.
You know?
So I think your example of your job is an interesting one, right? So you make 100 grand a year doing sales.
Yeah.
I think for people, when you're brought up to think about the job market or your career as a thing, everything seems fixed, right? Okay, well, if I get a job, that's how much I'll be paid. Like, this is just the way of the world. But if you step outside that paradigm for a minute, you say, okay, you're getting paid 100 grand a year for your job. But what's the mechanism behind that? The mechanism behind that is there is a business that has figured out that it can pay Damo 100 grand in order to make 500 grand. There's a business behind that is making that mechanism work. Pay person 100K, generate 500K. That's what a business is doing. Behind the business, somewhere, is a guy or a girl who started it up and is now not only using your labor to generate money for the business, but everyone else in the business as well. And that's all coming together to make that person just orders of magnitude more. And so your knowledge and your skills is by definition worth way more than you're actually getting paid for it. But not only that, when we go out and we look for jobs, we see the jobs that are available and we're competing with other people for those jobs. Someone somewhere at some point has decided, I think what's appropriate to pay Damo for that job is 100 grand. What determines that? It's kind of market forces, right? It's a bit of supply and demand. If it becomes more difficult to get salespeople, then they might have to up the salary to 110, 120 to attract more people. If suddenly there's a flood of people learning sales, that salary might drop because you've got more supply of people. But it's all fundamentally completely arbitrary, and it has no bearing on the actual value of your skill set. So then you start the YouTube channel and you realize that same skill set applied in a slightly different way is now worth presumably many, many times more than it was. So in my case, 2015, I quit my English teaching job. My salary at the time, I was living in Egypt. I was working for a British company. I had like a local salary that was not very much because you didn't need much to live locally, and they would pay you a sterling supplement that you could, save up. That was £850 a month. So that was what the market had determined that the sort of rateable value of my skill set was. Everything that I'd learned, the person I'd become, all of that was worth 850 quid. The exact same knowledge in my head applied in a slightly different way and distributed by the internet is now worth millions. Mm-hmm. How can that be the case? It's because it's just the whole construct around the way that the business and economics and salaries work. It's all arbitrary. It's all constructed. And so the most important thing to realize, I think, is that everyone's got skills and knowledge and experience, which applied in a slightly different way isn't just going to make you an extra 10% a year. It can make you 10 times what you currently make. All of that is possible, but it's very difficult to see until you're on the other side of that. Until you're on the other side of that fence.
Yeah, and when you realize like scale, value at scale is like what creates wealth, right? And me speaking to one client and doing a deal that I might have been like, oh, the deal's worth $1 million and I get this commission off it, and that's great. And it was really technical and like drawn out and laborious process in the weeds. And my understanding was, I know the really technical elements of this business and these finance products, and that's what makes me valuable. But then I go and talk about index funds to 1 million people a month and I earn way more money, even though to me that knowledge is like, I would say that to my mates all the time and just be like, you should do this. And they'd be like, whatever. But it's like, we have this belief that the more technical and detailed we get, the more valuable we become. But actually, if you can communicate quite simple messages that are valuable to a lot of people at scale, you can earn just as much money, if not loads more, right?
Yeah, I mean, and what you're talking about there is essentially taking a skill set and then making that available to a wider marketplace, to the public as a whole. The opposite can also be true. I mean, like what I do with my business work now is actually the complete opposite. So it's more like taking my knowledge and then helping a small number of specific individuals. And so it can work both ways. But it's more that any business that you work for is only going to want a certain amount of your skill set and your labor, and so that only represents a tiny fraction of what you can actually do. The amount of stuff that you knew as a person that you would never have even, I mean, how much stuff did you know? How much knowledge did you have that you'd never even use in your job?
Oh yeah,
previously?
You talk about it, you'd be like, shut up, Damien. Go sell the widgets. I mean, it's not your passion, is it? It's just the thing that you do. And
it's the thing that you do. Yeah.
That was a clip from our episode with Ollie Richards talking about the power of investing in yourself. You can watch the full episode right here. Damo has a huge man crush on him.
You're just jealous, mate, because I don't like you.